everyone, welcome. I will just wait a couple of minutes until you are all in, or for any latecomers. I hope you can all see my screen, hear me well. If not, please use the chat and let us know if any problems. All right. I guess any latecomers will join along. I appreciate the time everybody is taking to attend this webinar, and I know how busy everybody is. So let's dig in. Thank you for joining me today. At this webinar. This is the very first edition of the webinar sessions starting after the summer break. So I would like to actually thank a lot the organizers for having me as the very first speaker in this new set of editions. And today we are actually gonna start with a very, very interesting theme for marketeers and not only, and that's about Generation Z, or how to engage this next generation of players in our products, in our marketing campaigns, and whatnot. I appreciate that many of you are also coming from the industry. So today expect a very, very practical webinar with real-time examples of what is going on in many companies out there that are actually operating in the iGaming industry. Therefore, if you want to share your experience, please do so. There will be a Q&A session towards the end of this presentation. So if you want to interfere, give some feedback, or share any questions you might have, I will be able to answer at the end of this presentation. This is the agenda of today and what we're going to cover in this 1-hour webinar. I will be talking about Generation Z and particularly about why they matter, because it's a very widely spread topic, but maybe not everybody is aware why all the struggle to actually target this audience. Understanding the Gen Z, or why are we even talking about them? How are they different compared to previous audiences we've targeted or previous generations? I would be giving some practical advices or what to and not to do with them in terms of marketing, and the future of Gen Z marketing. And all this marketing topic is obviously very much related to my personal experience. For those of you who I've never met, my name is Anna, and I've been in gaming for about 15 plus years. Worked in key names in the B2C and B2B, and I'm currently actually focused on the B2B marketing sector, and I work for a very prominent aggregator in the industry. And this is why, and this is the reason why we will be approaching the Gen Z, particularly from a marketing point of view. All right, so let's dig in. So who are this Gen Z and why do we need to talk about them? So Gen Z is the generation born roughly between 97 and 2012. They stand out or differ from previous audiences that we've targeted for the simple reason that this is the very first true digital natives. It means that they were born in the era of digital communication, devices, and whatnot, and they are extremely digital savvy, which makes them obviously maybe different and difficult to target in certain areas or to a certain extent. Why do they matter? they represent a very big cohort of the population, approximately about 25%. Some sources are reporting 23, 25, but roughly I've put 25% of the global population. So that is 1/4 of the population, and that already tells us a lot of how much they matter for businesses. They represent around 30% of the working force, or that's what it's estimated to be by 2030. We're also talking about a huge purchasing power here. You know, the working force is actually the purchasing power. 1 out of 10 are the eligible voters. Of the eligible voters in the world are actually Gen Z. They also have the political power, and that also matters in terms of channels that we will be using in certain countries. If you are specifically geo-targeting, that also has a lot of importance. And the digital channels they spent, we said it in the previous slide, or I mentioned it briefly in the previous slide, they were born with technology and they consume technology extensively. It's estimated that they spend about 11 hours daily on devices, different devices. Okay, how are they different? What they value most, this is what I've tried to summarize. Obviously, it's very hard to put to stick a persona. Obviously, this is what generally they are interested in and how this can help us. They value being authentic. Or consuming authentic content. And when I say authentic, doesn't necessarily mean only different. It means that content that is actually real or closest to real, the best. They're also very purposeful. For them, social impact matters. We need to keep in mind that we're talking about generation which was born in sort of global crisis. They are very well aware of major global problems such as, global warming, a lot of wars around the world. A lot of inequality. So they're really purposeful, and for them, social impact matters. Community. Generation Z, they love peer validation. They want to connect, and they want to be surrounded by a group of people, and this also puts them in a quite a different basket or category compared to previous target audiences, specifically compared to Gen X, for example, or millennials. Expression, very creative and individual in their expression, way of expression. And also transparent. And this tells us a lot about their consuming behavior because they predominantly focus on trust before purchase. So this means that for businesses or brands that want to win over Gen Z, they want to convey trust. And some other characteristics of the Gen Z, you can also see on my screen. They are diverse and inclusive. This is a generation that was born in a very ethnically, culturally, and socially diverse world. So they're very well accustomed to diversity. Very entrepreneurial. We know there are a lot of Gen Z who have side hustle, creative projects. It's also quite trendy right now among this generation. Value driven. They care a lot about social justice, what I just mentioned, sustainability as well. And we will see in one of my next slides where they are not only driven by promises, but actually by clear actions. Short attention, deep engagement is another key characteristic of the Gen Z, and this is gonna help us a lot when we have to develop a strategy of how to actually target the channels where we can find them. Because they scroll fast, yes, they're present in many different channels or media. However, they have also very deep engagement, which means that if we gain their trust, it's very likely that we will be able to successfully target them and win them as customers. So what do we do in practice? How do we target them, having in mind all these characteristics and differences that Generation Z presents? And I have put a few points that I think are the key here. To be authentic, to lead with purpose, build communities, go native on platforms. So if you haven't explored different platforms, now is the time more than ever. Empower creators and create experiences. These points pretty much summarize one thing that I believe we need to take today of the webinar, and that is that Gen Z, they live technology compared to millennials who helped the development of technology. Gen Z is actively living it. Therefore, the creation of experiences and involvement is an absolute key in targeting them from a marketing point of view. So how are we authentic? And you are seeing on my screen, as I told you, these are real examples of companies that operate in the iGaming world, which I want to show you because these are companies targeting different sectors. One is, on my examples, is a pure casino operator targeting players directly. And the second one is actually operating in the B2B space. And I just want to show you that when it comes to targeting of audience, it's basically, it doesn't really matter. The first example I invite you, it's to actually check it out on their official channel. It's from Instagram. It's about functional training of someone actually training their finger so they can spin in the casino, making it actually quite real. I am not allowed to say who is the influencer, but he's also very, very popular influencer, actually. Very appealing to Gen Z. So I invite you to check that channel if you want inspiration for some of your content. And the second example is, as I said, a B2B company, which is actually also targeting with the same audience in mind, producing content. And what is interesting here is that both of them are actually showing behind the scenes and what happens in reality. Because if we think about it, how do you train to play in a casino, right? It's a very funny, but very funny thing. But at the same time, it's also, what do? You obviously train your finger. So they are actually talking about real problem here in a fun way, of course. And the second company is actually talking about G2E. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with G2E. But that's a massive conference happening in the US with it's huge. Distances are enormous, so everybody is super tired. Everybody has been pretty busy. Everything is fast. So what are they doing? They're pretty much eating fast food, spending time on some events. And this is exactly what they're recapping here, the real situation of conferences. So they're not hiding the content, oh, it was amazing and everything was perfect, but they're talking in real voice about what's happening. And this authenticity and actually real experiences is what is appealing for Gen Z. They're not after fabricated advertising or fake advertising. They prefer the real thing. Also, because remember, always keep in mind that they're very tech savvy and they can actually check things in a blink of an eye. So for them, it's quite easy to also see what is the reality and if you are real with them. All right, moving on with leading with purpose. This is another example of a big name in the iGaming industry. This is actually an image of the Malta Pride 2025, where they are actually taking a stand. They're being inclusive, they're talking about Malta Pride openly, and not only they're actually participating in the Malta Pride. And this is when I told you it's very important not only to talk about events that might interest a Gen Z, but actually lead with actions. This is exactly what is appealing to them because they are quite sensitive when it comes to these topics, such as inclusivity, sustainability, transparency. Communities. It's a very big buzzword right now. We are talking about communities all the time and how to create communities and what exactly is the experience that we should be offering in the communities. So here I've prepared few examples, again, real examples from companies operating in gaming that are actually able to offer this involvement and community experience to their players. The first example is actually from a platform called Discord. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar about Discord, but it's quite popular among the younger generation and Gen Z, who we're talking about today, whereby you can actually, it's pretty much like a chat where, you can launch campaigns. This is actually a screenshot showing you some kind of giveaway that this company is running in order to involve them actively in their brand. And users or players can contribute, can talk about content, can, actively interact with the brand and the company in question. The second screenshot with this guy sitting on the chair over here, it's actually from Twitch. It's a stream platform, also quite popular at the moment. There are many others like Kick, for example, or even YouTube Live at the moment is trending. And streamer communities are actually another way of involving players because when they stream, you can actually log in. I'm not sure if it's very visible on the screenshot, but you can actually log in and actively talk to the streamers in real time. So while they're streamings, you can have your input, you can talk to other fellow players, discuss about the game or about what's going on the screen. So you're consuming the content, the stream, in a very different way because you are actually living it together with a pool of other players and the streamer himself. So you're actually actively involved. This is not a passive, watching TV where it's just the screen and you're just seeing what's happening. Here, you're actively involved. You're not only seeing what's going on, but you're actually involved. You're talking to the other players. You're talking to the streamers. And the last example is actually not so much about marketing, but about product. Because at the beginning, I told you Gen Z and targeting Gen Z, it's not actually a struggle for marketeers only. It's probably bigger struggle for people in product. I'm not sure if there is anyone in product in this webinar. You can share your experience later and tell me if it's true or not. But creating products for Gen Z that are giving this sense of community involvement is not easy at all. And there are maybe few companies out there only that I can think of that are quite innovative in what they are doing. And this company specifically has developed what they call the Casinoverse, where you can create like your avatar, like an avatar, and play together with other players in this casino arena, and actually actively basically share the gameplay with them. So it's quite an innovative product. And yeah, we will see some others along the way in the presentations that I can show you. But they are also built around this sense of involvement, community, where there is some kind of collaboration. You're not just passively sitting, but you're actually actively involved in the product and on what's going on. Go native on platforms. And this is something that we mentioned earlier. If you are not on certain platforms that are actively used by Gen Z, I'm not gonna we don't have a lot of time so that I can go through all the apps that are currently trending among Gen Z, but I assume you already know some of those became really popular. Actually, my two screenshots are from TikTok, which is becoming more and more trendy among youngsters, simply because the content that you upload there is actually a really short, straight to the point content. And remember, we said that Gen Z are actually people with a very short attention span. But that doesn't mean that they don't gain deep engagement. So the two examples are actually, again, one from a company operating in the B2C, and actually both are from B2C. However, one is more focusing on content that is relevant to the company life. So there is a way they approached it from that point of view. And the second company is actually a casino operator talking about their product. They're very big on sportsbook and esports. So they're actually making these fun videos. And they have adapted their content. This is also something important. They have adapted their content to the culture. Not just the format, right? It's short video, but also to the culture of the specific platform. We all know that TikTok is more of meme style, very fun videos, less seriousness, more fun, sort to say. And in fact, they have incorporated a lot of humor, the music as well on these videos. I took screenshots, but you're more than welcome to go to these channels and watch the actual videos. The music they've used, and also the elements in the videos itself, they're keeping it very much on brand. So the first video, the man with the kicking the ball, is the actual CCO of this company. So they're also showing real faces, like showing that, the people behind the scenes are real people. They're keen on sports. This specific operator is big on sportsbook and casino. So they're even putting, real names in those videos. And second operator this video is also specifically about sports. I think they're making fun of a losing team, because in this video, this man climbing up those boxes actually falls down. He's first going up and then falling down. The video is hilarious. You're more than welcome to watch it after. So they're actually making fun of the losing team in this esports. So very targeted approach in the content they are actually using, making it also not suitable in format, but also the content itself is very much aligned with the brand and what they want to convey, and also aligned with the products they actually offer. So extremely important, not only for TikTok, for any platform you're actually using, um, that is a must. Empower creativity. So Gen Z are very creative, and we were talking about authentic storytelling. They actually want to see the real thing. They don't like fabricated or scripted ads. Mm, and this is where another way of using the communities, and the first screenshot that you're seeing of this promotional content is actually of a popular forum for casino games, where players can contribute with their honest opinion about what they think certain providers, certain games, um, and it's giving them the freedom to express themselves and not only to actually pass creative feedback. Because let's be honest, you only improve a product and run a business based on creative feedback from the user. If the user tells you that something is not okay, most likely it's not okay, and you have to review the product. So it's a great way. What I want to say here, it's actually a great way not only to target Gen Z and to give them the power to express themselves, give them let them be creative and give you their honest opinion, but also for you as a business to check or align where do you sit, what do these people, these users, players think about your brand. Uh, and based on that, decide on your strategy of how to target them. And the second screenshot is actually of a popular provider on the market right now. It's actually a static ad, as you can see, a static asset, but where they have used real time, like real ranking of prominent affiliates, communities, uh, and have put it on their advertising to show what honestly people think about this game. And you can see someone gave a score of 8, 8.5, 9. So the max is generally 10, which means that this game, in the opinion of the users or the players, was actually very well rated. And this is another tactic of how to target the Gen Z, because you're showing them, hey, this is a product that was very well ranked. It's very likely that they will go and actually interact with your product, and in this case check this game out. Very similarly to how booking platforms work, where there is a comparison between places, and someone would go and check the ranking and see if they are good enough. Create experiences, and here there is a lot about gamification, and this is another buzzword, not only in marketing, but in gaming in general. Everybody talks about gamification, but what exactly is gamification? And how do you interpret gamification? How do you approach it? Is it from a marketing perspective or from a product perspective? And in this case, I'm showing you actually a screenshots from a real product of a company called Lifespins. And they have developed this product where you can involve players. They can sit and bet together with the streamer, or participate in some giveaways or tournaments against other players. And this is all in real time while some streaming is happening. So it's like a layer on the game. You can also interact by sending some emojis to other players, and ultimately have fun. And personally, I'm sure there are other great products out there, but personally, I think it's a very spot on product where you don't disrupt the gameplay of the players because they're still in the game. As you can see, it's like a layer. They're watching, they're actively involved by the streamer or influencer, and at the same time, they're giving this empowerment or option to be creative and to actually interfere with other players and actively participate with them in those battles, tournaments. You can call it whatever you like. So, based on this, what do we do with Gen Z that actually works and what we don't do when we want to target Gen Z? And with thumbs up, I have marked as very key points personalization. So mass marketing, unfortunately, we know it already. It's been declining tremendously over the past years, I would say, for the simple reason that younger generation wants personalized content, authentic content, and inclusive content. So authentic in the sense as real as possible. If you can give some real life examples or some real life situations, it's far better. This is also the reason why I'm not sure, probably many of you follow a lot of influencer, but you will notice that real-time influencers, like, I don't know, a mom showing the struggle of keeping up with the house and the kids and giving practical advices on how to overcome certain challenges with the timetable and the busy agenda, are at the moment very, very popular. So what to avoid is actually the over-polished content. They don't like that. And I've mentioned it before also for the simple reason that they're very fast on checking information right now, very familiar on how to check fast information. So they will understand the real thing very fast, and the one-way communication. And going back to the mass marketing where you would normally, or traditional marketing where you will normally send a newsletter to a big chunk of users, with Gen Z, that is not the preferred way because they want to be involved in that communication. They want to actively be involved and also as instant and real time as possible. And this is why we mentioned about communities, generally channels that allow chatting services where they can sit and immediately give their feedback or their opinion about your brand, about your product. So, what is the future? And that's actually another big challenge for marketeers, for people working in the industry. What do we do to keep those players? To be creative and to give them something new so they come. And here comes AI. And this is one of the reasons why in many conferences you would go or talks you would hear about gaming, almost every second one is around AI and how important it is. Because AI process a lot of information in a short span of time and gives you the option to actually extract information quite fast and personalize or use only the information you need. AI can also be used in a lot of other areas, not only in marketing, in CRM, where you would personalize, I don't know, messaging to your players, but AI is now actively used among operators in their casino lobbies, for example. Casino lobbies nowadays work almost always based on AI. Think about Netflix. Netflix is also AI powered, where when you switch on your Netflix, you're generally presented with content you want to see based on your preferences, based on what you watched in the past, based on what you selected at the beginning when they ask you what are you interested in. Um, and this actually helps you to drive this personalization that we are all aiming towards. Um, Yeah, AI is also in a lot of the channels. So all the almost platforms and social media channels now have AI incorporated. So you can also tailor messages for your customers, and whatnot. Social commerce, that's also very interesting because it's being so present on different platforms and channels. Actually, it's becoming more and more trendy for businesses who are in or who offer some products to sell, to be on those social channels and to run this social commerce. So even TikTok is becoming a sales funnel because a lot of customers are there. So this social commerce is becoming more and more important when it comes to targeting the Gen Z, because they don't go to physical shops or rarely go to physical shops. How do you target? How do you sell them something? You obviously need to be where they are. And if they are on those channels, and they like the social element, this is exactly what we need to offer them. Brand transparency as default is something what I showed in my previous slides as well. Be as transparent and as real as possible. This is what Gen Z, and I believe also other generations, are also getting accustomed to. They want to see the real thing. Um, Fine lines, creators, communities, and brands merge. Um, and this is another tricky and challenging part for marketeers and other people working in the industry as well. It's becoming a one whole thing. I showed you a few examples of something that we would perceive as a community, but in reality, if you think that now the community is connecting the brand itself, where they put, let's say, a giveaway or are promoting their product, and then on the other side they're giving the option of these users, players, to actively comment and create content related to the brand, that means that all three elements are actually merging. So there is a very fine line between these elements nowadays. Hence why, again, to highlight the importance of giving the option and the freedom of Gen Z to create, be able to be actively engaged with your brand and as instantly as possible. Um, And then, as a closing message, this message actually ChatGPT suggested to me, and I really liked it, and I wanted to share it with you today. But to win Gen Z, stop marketing to them and start creating with them. And I think this is one of the key words that we should take today, not to, but with. They want to be actively involved. And with that, I want to thank you for today. I'm allowing here a little bit over 10 minutes for any questions or any feedback you would like to share. So I'm just going to open Um, I will just stop sharing my presentation so I can open the questions. Yeah, okay. Question number one. I'm going to read it out and then we can discuss. Hello, it's a very interesting topic and talking about their traits like authenticity. How should iGaming brands balance the desire for authenticity with the need to promote responsible gaming among Gen Z players? Okay, that's a very interesting topic. We're jumping towards responsible gaming, but I want to say one thing. I work with a lot of also streamers and influencers in the iGaming space. Um, and I've been often asked as well, like, oh, how do you balance this responsible gaming and how do you put limits? You know, these guys are sometimes overboard or whatnot. But let's not forget that the creators, the current creators, such as influencers or streamers, they also belong to the Gen Z. And they're very well aware of those problems, such as responsible gaming. Um, so they themselves impose a limit. And when you go to, for example, I took streamers as an example, but it could be a different way of marketing as well. They themselves impose a limit whereby they say, we abide by the rule, we only play real money, our own money. We don't take certain currencies to keep aligned with the responsible gaming. Um, like the responsible gaming needs and what the regulators are imposing to the operators. Um, so I think it's, in a way, it's a self-regulating cycle. You know, iGaming brands don't really need to balance themselves because they're part of this circle whereby, as I said, I personally believe it's self-regulating. There is a lot of respect among uh, streamers and marketeers and external agencies and the brands themselves. They understand very well what brands need to go through and what regulations they need to abide by. On the other hand, if you ever have any doubt, like a brand being involved in, okay, let's say you're asking me, how can I be fun if the uh, regulator of country A is asking me to to abide by certain content or to abide by certain rules. Um, I would say that very few regulators are actually care of the actual content and of the words that you use, and of the strategy that you use. They mainly care about the channeling, that things are not appealing to young generation. And I've showed you examples of actually authentic content, which I believe was not really how do I say, targeting under 18s or young generations, or was not in any way offensive or actually triggering some kind of gambling needs. So I think there are a lot of creative ways. If we only think a little bit outside the box, there are a lot of creative ways as well of how to do that. But again, I think the whole industry itself is basically self-regulating, and it's kind of getting there where they understand how to kind of work together so towards a common goal by not crossing these limits of responsible gaming. I hope that answered your question, but if you have any more on the responsible gaming, please bring them on. Okay, and I'm gonna read the second question. Can you also share some common pitfalls or mistakes brands make when trying to target Gen Z? Yes. Common pitfalls is actually very much what I showed you in my last slide, whereby they have this over polished content of how everything is perfect. And I gave you an example, but I think the conferences is a perfect example. Everybody thinks that when you go to a conference, a massive conference is a lot of fun. And actually, people live with this idea that you're constantly just socializing and having a chit chat with your friends or your industry peers, when in reality, it's really tiring and mentally exhausting. Think about, you're traveling for so long. I gave you an example with the US conference. You're traveling on the other side of the world. You're far away from your family and from your loved ones. Everything is massive. Distances are huge. So that is the reality. All you need is what was actually put in that ad, where you only want to sit in Starbucks, eat some fast food, go to sleep, to obviously cope also with the jet lag, which happens in the US. Um, so I believe this is what will actually engage your players. If you show them just a beautiful stand and a beautiful luxury casino, that will probably mean nothing to your audience, because that's not what's happening in reality. If they go and experience that, they will understand that you are not trustful in the first place. I hope that answers your question. Um, and yeah, if you have any more of that kind, bring them on. And next one, what innovative technologies or gameplay features do you think are most effective in keeping Gen Z players engaged over the long term? This is, I wish I had the answer, because I believe every single product person or marketeer wants to know what is that perfect product. But I gave you a few examples in the presentation, and I strongly believe that products that allow gamification, where basically you allow this multiplayer experience, let's put it that way in a simple words, where you can play together with other fellow friends or players, or even streamers, as in the product I gave you as an example, is the way to go. And in terms of actually others that I can think of is progression. That is one word that I'm reading more and more in the communities and in the forums. So Gen Z, they want to achieve something. They don't want to be passive consumers of your product. So, for example, thinking about slot games, they don't just want to spin a slot. They want to see something going on in that slot. They want to progress. They want to collect features. Maybe you collect certain features and you trigger a bonus round, or you trigger some kind of reward, such as, I don't know, free spins. They just want something to happen in that game. They want to be part of it, actively involved. So I strongly believe that these kind of features and products are actually the future over long term. I hope that answers your question. If not, please type me in the chat again. Um, and next one. What regional or cultural nuances have most surprised you about Gen Z gaming behavior? Actually, this is a very valid point, because obviously, due to the time restriction, we're talking about Gen Z overall on a very high level, not considering this regional or cultural nuances. But if we have to geo divide them, if you are a Gen Z in a certain country, you're obviously your social situation, cultural environment, or your upbringing, they shape your behavior. And this is very, very important because Gen Z, as Gen Z can be perceived in country A, might not be exactly corresponding to the persona in country B. So here we talked a lot about personalization, and I would add that in personalization, we need to think of localization as well. I tend to believe that what is appealing to a Gen Z, say in Brazil, is probably not appealing to a Gen Z in Sweden, just because they have such a different socioeconomic environment. They come from a different socioeconomic environment. They are completely different. So we need to take that into account as well. Where are they from? What do they like? What is trendy in a certain country? We also talk a lot about channels, but let's talk about countries where channels like TikTok are banned. Obviously, we talked as a channel as being very popular, but popular maybe in Europe, maybe not in other continents. So, therefore, it's very, very important to talk about localization and to understand well culturally where is your Gen Z or in general your audience located, whether it's Gen Z or a millennial, because that also comes as a highlight, and it's a very important point to marketing and to actually marketing your product, your business, positioning your business. um, Moving to the next one. If you had to bet on one trend that will define Gen Z engagement in a few years, what would it be? One trend that will define Gen Z. That's a very, very good question. If I have to bet on one trend, observing player behaviors, that will definitely be something like community engagement. Could be like multiplayer or anything that allows you to play together with your friends or peers all together. A little bit like, we've been talking about gaming as inspiration from video games, but we are not exactly there yet. I think video games are much more advanced from that point of view, and we're heading there from that point of view. So, actually having the option to play together with your friends in a game. Um, Yeah, I'm jumping to the next one. Sorry, I don't want to keep you all. I know how busy you are. What are the deal breaker moments in the onboarding funnel for Gen Z? The deal breaker moments. Oh, that's a big struggle for marketers right now because onboarding funnel for Gen Z or acquisition. Let's talk about acquisition of Gen Z. Acquisition in general is side of the marketing that is one of the most expensive. Um, and nowadays, we talk a lot about how to invest also smartly, but to attract those players. And many brands who have successful moments or deal breakers are the brands that have relied entirely on influencer marketing. Big operators out there that have deals with some of the probably most interesting people either in the music industry, in the sports industry, generally influencers that Gen Z look up to, that they trust. And one of the brands that I showed you in the presentation has it with this rapper. They also have influencers from Formula One, also have some UFC fighters. All basically very much appealing to the Gen Z. So, in my opinion, that is the deal breaker. However, going back to the cost, in terms of acquisition, and obviously striking deals with popular influencers is also quite costly. And probably this, in my opinion, is the reason why it's not mass spread yet. All right. Moving on. What signals do you think tell a Gen Z viewer this is worth my time with the first 3 seconds of a short? Yeah. What signals? I think I would, if I have to be if I have to put myself in the shoes of a Gen Z, I will look for three signals. One's the relevance. Is this relevant to me? Like, we were talking about influencers, and I told you about this brand that have these popular influencers, and I know all of them. They are familiar faces and are influencers from either sports or industries that I am interested in. So that is signal number one. Number two will also be sorry, lost my thoughts here. Number two will definitely be the product they represent. Am I interested in this brand or product? And remember, in the presentation, we were talking a lot about trust and purchase. So if the influencer is good, but the brand is not good, or the product is not relevant or not good for the viewer, you're likely to lose them there. And number three is for me is the authenticity. Like, is this content actually catchy? Have they put it in a catchy way? And we watch this. I'm going back to this example that I gave you of this popular influencer. Just it's so funny. It's very short, but it's very funny. Like practicing to spin in the casino and just moving his finger. But it's three things. It's the casino I like. It's the person I like or I trust because of the personality and of the industry he represents. And number three, it's relevant to me. I play casino. I'm interested in slots. So here you go. Next one, I don't know if we have any more. I will take 5 more minutes to answer these two questions, so I make sure there are no unanswered questions. But if anyone needs to go, I will not get offended if you have to drop. In terms of content and messaging, what types of themes or narratives resonate most with Gen Z in the context of iGaming? Content and messaging. What types of themes or narratives? I don't think there is a universal, if you ask me personally, I don't think there is a universal theme or narrative. It will strongly depend on what you're talking about, and the product you're presenting, whether that's a product or certain experience. There is no universal thing. But again, I think the narrative has to be very kind of direct messaging, very honest, open, transparent, exactly of what we've seen in the examples in the presentation. Talk about the real thing. Why do we talk about something being shiny and nice when in reality it has its struggles? I think it's a little bit about also when you are trying to purchase a product, think about your own purchasing behavior. When you purchase a product and you're looking at the specs of the product, you're not only looking at the beneficial specs of the product, you're also looking at the downside because you want to make an informed decision. So it's in my opinion, it's the same in the content and messaging. Make them do the informed decision. We cannot impose the decision on them. We can only give them the tools to make that informed decision. So if we tell them, yes, we do 1, 2, and 3, although we are missing on 4, but we do 1, 2, and 3, we're still a step ahead because we were honest and at the same time we gave them all the benefits that we can offer. Hope that answers the question. And last but not least, what's the biggest myth about Gen Z that your data has disproved? The biggest myth. The biggest myth I've been observing and what data is telling us is the engagement. So there was this mass belief that Gen Z, because of their short attention span, they don't engage, which is not true. And data shows it. And there are now a lot of studies that you can even browse about Gen Z and their behavior, their personas in marketing and whatnot. But they actually have a very, very deep engagement. Very deep engagement is just different than what we are used to. We are used to maybe, I'm talking about my generation, to catch them with or to target them with a catchy ad or something. And now, because these people actually have the power to skip ads or, select the content they want to be exposed to, it's quite difficult to target them, but it doesn't mean that we cannot engage with them. So this is the one I will actually say it's the biggest myth. There was a very interesting study I read before I actually came to this webinar that over 85% of Gen Z skip any kind of promotional content while they're watching something they're interested in. So if we, these videos on YouTube, maybe you're watching something on YouTube and this ad pops up, over 85% actually skips those ads. And we need to be aware of that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we cannot engage them. And that was the last question I had here. I hope that answered it. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for joining me today. If anything pops up after, this content will be available later. So if you want to rewatch, you're more than welcome. Thank you so much, everyone, and wish you a lovely day.